It doesn't matter what your political affiliations are, inclusivity and tolerance should be everyone's business. According to analyst Liz Storer, transgender swimmer Lia Thomas's argument that transgender athletes are not a threat to women's sports is an inherently unfair statement that is downright demeaning to women. Not sure how many women are taking offense to it. Join us as we find out more about this developing story. First up, some insensitive remarks. It's 2022, people. Can we stop policing people for things that have nothing to do with us? The jab at Lia Thomas comes after the American swimmer, who won the 500-yard freestyle at the NCAA Finals in Atlanta in March, spoke against her worst critics and stated that she intended to continue competing with the ultimate goal of reaching the Olympics. Liz Storer believes that trans women who have an unfair advantage because they've gone through puberty as a male. She went on to say that stronger bone density, muscular mass, wingspan, lung capacity, you name it. According to her, all those factors contribute to an unfair advantage against female athletes, who weren't born with these physical attributes. Lia Thomas hit back on those ridiculous claims, saying that she doesn't believe she has an unfair biological advantage over women's sports. Thomas argued that trans women don't transition for athletics in an interview that aired on ABC's Good Morning America this week. She explained that the transition is done so they can be happy, real, and true to themselves, not to gain an advantage. Thomas also slammed haters by saying that she doesn't require anyone's permission to be herself and simply looks forward to participating in the activities she enjoys. She won the women's 500-yard freestyle in the NCAA Championships in Atlanta in March, making her the first transgender woman to win a national title in swimming. Trans athletes must complete 3 years of hormone replacement therapy before being eligible to compete in USA Swimming. Despite the fact that she had missed the deadline by 6 months, the governing body of collegiate athletics in the United States decided not to follow USA Swimming's guidelines and allowed her to compete. Next, we have the journey to the Olympics. When Lia Thomas won the women's 500-yard freestyle race on March 17th, she became the first openly transgender athlete to win America's premier trophy in university sports. Thomas, who is now 22, took first place in the First Division Swimming Championship of the National Collegiate Athletic Association, her final competition as a college athlete. She's become a lightning rod in the argument concerning trans women in sports, as well as a target for much of the American right as a result of her success. Sports stars, politicians, activists, her competitors, and even some of her teammates' parents have criticized her right to compete in women's races, as well as demonstrators at the NCAA final last week, who stated that her years living as a man gave her an unfair edge. Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis signed a proclamation on Tuesday naming 500-yard runner-up Emma Weyant the rightful winner after passing legislation last year prohibiting trans people from participating in high school and college women's athletics. Despite this, there have been little information about how Thomas's performance compares to that of other women in her position. We went ahead and did some digging and found little evidence that she is a threat to women's sports, according to our calculations. And now for hormone therapy and sports. Thomas started swimming when she was 5 years old and came out to her family in the summer of 2018. On January 1st, 2020, she started using her name Lia Catherine Thomas. In an interview with Sports Illustrated earlier this year, she described it as a kind of rebirth. For the first time in her life, she felt truly connected to her name and who she felt from inside. Many of us can relate to the struggle and suffocation of not living her truth. She started gender-affirming hormone replacement therapy, HRT, in May 2019, which is when people's estrogen and testosterone supplements to align a trans person's hormones with those of a cisgender or non-transgender person. This is frequently the initial stage in a medical change, as opposed to a social shift, which is when they start dressing the way they identify. Although there is a lot of diversity within each sex, we all know that men and women typically have different hormone balances. At the risk of sounding like your biology teacher in high school, let us jog your memory a bit. Hormones enable our bodies to develop in different ways as we grow older. As adults, our bodies retain the ability to respond to new hormones. Therefore, HRT produces significant changes in a person's secondary sex characteristics. Once trans women have been on HRT for a given amount of time and tests prove their testosterone is below particular levels, both the NCAA and the Olympics allow them to compete in women's events. Opponents of trans women's inclusion argue that these adjustments are insufficient to eliminate the natural benefits of growing up in a testosterone-rich environment. The scientific data is open to interpretation, and contrary to popular belief, trans women who have had hormone replacement therapy do not currently dominate professional sports. Now, an edge above the rest? Let's take a look at Miss Thomas's NCAA record first. While some of her fastest times have come in other tournaments, these are the results results that are simplest to find and compare across years and individuals. All of the numbers in this article pertain to short course yards races, which were held in a 25-yard pool. In 4 meters, 33.24 seconds, Ms. Thomas won the women's 500-yard freestyle race. She finished 5th in the 200-meter dash in 1 minute 43.4 seconds and 8th in the 100-meter dash in 48.4 seconds. These were great numbers, but they didn't break any records. In actuality, her timing would have only placed her 3rd in some races. These numbers appear to be in line with those of trans athletes all around the world. Since 2004, trans women have been allowed to compete in the Women's Olympics. However, they have yet to win a medal. Numbers, on the other hand, can only tell us so much. Even if trans women won more competitions, advocates maintain that does not imply they have an unfair edge, nor does it justify their exclusion from women's events. Indeed, it would be bizarre to argue that trans women should only be permitted to participate in women's sports if they never win. Next, in other related news, we have some scandals in NCAA. Gantries is the first member of the 2021-22 Cal swim team to come forward and be named in reports of McKeever's alleged harassment. In a series of interviews in which she shared her journal and emails, the 3-time Pac-12 champion claims that not only was she bullied on a daily basis by McKeever, the 2012 U.S. Olympic team head coach, but that the coach also targeted freshman Stephanie Akakabuda and Reed Broaders, both African Americans, for regular verbal and emotional abuse. Senior Associate Athletic Director Jennifer Simon O'Neill, a longtime close friend of McKeever's who until recently had direct oversight of the women's swimming and diving program, dismissed allegations of bullying against the head coach. But hundreds of current and former Cal swimmers and divers, as well as their parents, back up these claims. Because of McKeever's bullying, 9 Cal women's swimmers have made horrifying revelations to SCNG regarding suicidal ideation for weeks and months at end. McKeever was placed on paid administrative leave for the university on May 25th, a day after the SCNG investigation revealing her alleged bullying of swimmers was revealed. The institution has recruited a law firm in Los Angeles to conduct an inquiry into the allegations, and the school's Human Resources Office will be in charge of the investigation. And now, Neeraj Chopra breaks records. In a field stacked with the best in the world, including world leader Anderson Peters' 93.07 minutes, Neeraj Chopra demonstrated that the only thing that has changed in the year or so since the day in Tokyo is the length of his hair and the fact that he can now throw his javelin longer than ever. Chopra raced out, tossed a javelin with a powerful roar, and recorded 86.92 meters in his first competitive event since the Olympics at the Paavo Nurmi Games in Finland, a full 2.5 meters longer than any of his colleagues have managed all year. Then, on his second attempt, he broke his own national record with a leap of 89.3 meters. What's most surprising about this is the fact that Chopra hadn't practiced in a competition in about a year because he was so busy celebrating. Finally, the minimum age for Olympic figure skaters raised. The International Skating Union, the sport's governing body, stated on Tuesday that the minimum age for Olympic-level competition will be gradually raised from 15 to 17, meaning that no figure skaters under the age of 17 will be permitted to compete in the 2026 Milano Cortina Games. The suggestion referenced multiple publications from the ISU Medical Commission on the dangers of young athletes participating in high-level sports. Because of their still developing bodies, they are more vulnerable to physical injuries, as well as psychological injuries that could have long-term consequences for their mental, cognitive, and emotional health. While raising the minimum age was proposed before the Beijing Olympics in February, we think that Russian figure skater Kamila Valieva's positive doping test may have influenced the decision to some extent. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think trans women have an unfair advantage in women's sport? Or is it just another insensitive jab taken at a marginalized community? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.